Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. Hey, today our title is Integrating Wellness Practices for a Fulfilled Life, and it's with our guest, Will Miller. And I'm looking forward to sitting down and having a chat with Will here. But before we get started, I just want to give a huge shout out to Emergo Academy. That's Emergo, Emergo Academy. Dave and Susan Kenny, excuse me, are my coaches, and they also help a ton of other people. What I love about their coaching and why I took their course is because it's all about the brain first approach. And I really felt that that is something that it's just something that really resonated with me, because even with some of the people that I know and my past wife, I know a lot of things was going on inside here. And I do know now that we can actually control this when most of us think that it controls us. But once we start learning how to recognize the signs and sitting with our emotions and understanding things, it really helps us with our life. You guys have heard me say this every week. After losing my leg, losing my wife, if it wasn't for the coaching that I took with Dave and Susan Kenny and learning how to be able to sit with my emotions and figure things out, I don't know which direction. I probably would have went in the wrong direction instead of the right direction. So guys, I highly recommend them. Check them out. Even if you're not looking at wanting to be a coach, but you're wanting to make a difference and a change in your life, check out Emergo Academy, Emergo, emergoacademy.com. All right. Well, we got that one over with. So, Will, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm happy to be here, and I really enjoy you and what you've done. So, thank
Um,
you.
yeah, absolutely, and thank you. And I do feel that there is no such thing as coincidences. And I met you back in 2022 when we did our first Healing Utah Success Summit down in St. George. And I mean, within a short period of time, man, the energy and everything that I felt from you, I'm like, this is a dude I'd like to know, because I love feeding off of other people's energy. Hopefully, they're feeding off of mine as well. But I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. I think we can really get some good information and out to people, and also, just you and I, when we've talked in the past, we just have a lot of stories that kind of coincide and go along. We both dealt with the other side of addiction
Yes.
in our lives, with my daughters and you in your situation with your wife. But you know, we have a lot of heartaches we've overcome, right? And and we all need those, but we also need other people to get through those things. So
Yeah. Yeah, amen. Because you know this really well because you've been doing it for such a long time, and you got your sign behind you that says "Life by Design." You know, we're not able to do it alone. That is for doggone sure. And when we can hook up with the right people to help lead us in the right way, it makes such a huge difference. And of course, I always like to say the higher power, whatever the higher power is for whatever individual. For me, it's God, but I do feel like having that has really helped me on my whole journey, as well as individuals like yourself that have helped me get through the things I've gone through.
yeah, yeah, and you've been through a lot, brother. So
Well, a lot of us have, right?
yeah,
Yeah, a lot
yeah.
of us have. So, I mean, what does integrating wellness practices for a fulfilled life look to you? I mean, I know you teach and coach a lot of guys, but what does that look like?
Well, really, I'm a metaphysician. I'm also a nutritionist. And I take a lot of my spiritual and metaphysical um, education and practices and put it into what I do. And I think if you look at the world today and you look at where men say over 40, 50 years old, especially what they're kind of facing in the world today with how everything is moving, we have been taught since birth a big lie. And in this big lie basically is that we're born into a physical world and that's what we are. We look in the mirror, we believe what we see is what we are. And that truly is a big lie because what we truly are divine individuals. We were born divine. We were trained to not believe that we were divine. And we've taken the spirit out of our health, out of our life, out of our vitality, and out of our relationships. And you can see what the lack of that spiritual side of us is doing in the world right now. It's creating so much contention and so much hate and so much fighting. And it's, we need to get that back. And it affects our health. If you look at how energy flows in the world, in this world, in this 3D world we live in, right?
Yeah.
It, the body really is the lowest form of energy. Our spirit, it's flowing down through us. And if you lose that connection, your physical body will fall apart. And the people I work with are coming to me with degenerative diseases, with issues, emotional issues, with whatever physical problems, because their body is now responding to the lack of what is true energy, healing power coming in. And they go to the doctor and they get on medications, and there's this doesn't work and that doesn't work, and they're at their wits' end. So how is that integrated? It's integrated in the fact that yes, we have this physical body that we have to take care of, but 85% of how your body reacts, 85 to 90 really, is your environment and what you put into it,
Mm.
right? So if we can look at those two things, your environment, and we look at, and your environment includes, maybe what you live around, that's part of your environment, but it's also who are you hanging around with? What are you doing? Where are you hanging out at? Who are your five closest friends? And how healthy are they? And how are they living? We're meant to live an exceptional life, to have experiences, good and bad, and learn from them and get through them. That's part of what I believe we're here to do. But there's some simple sets of rules that we can follow, if you will, that are what I call eternal laws, natural laws of the universe, if you will, that we should follow to live an optimal life, which is what we're here to do, is live an optimal life and learn from it, and then move on to the next grand experience, if you will.
Yes.
So, um, so I really spend time is we address your physical issues, nutritionally, exercise, those kinds of things. Yes, I address all that. But then I take that mind and that spiritual side and integrate that into your daily practice, because a holistic approach to health is how you truly heal. Your body has the ability to heal itself. You're a divine being. You can heal yourself. You just have to put the practices in place and get the right people around you to do it. Fix your environment, if you will, right? So that's how we integrate that. And so many people have just gotten used to, I take a pill and it's supposed to fix me, but there's not been a pill invented that fixes anything. All it does is treat a symptom.
Well, it treats the symptom and then also causes other issues for us to take care of pills.
Yeah, all sorts of other issues. And
Mhm.
it's not the symptoms we should be treating. It's the system in everything, in your body, in your life, around you. That's what's wrong with the world. They're not treating the system, they're treating the symptoms. And all they're doing is throwing band-aids on, a terrible wound. It doesn't work. So and that's, when you talk about addiction too, it works the same way. You can't just treat the symptoms. You've got to treat the system, the person, the being, the whole being, in a very holistic way. So that's how that's what when I talk about those things, you've got to integrate the whole system in order to create a true healing, if you will. Otherwise, you're just going to continue to mass symptoms. There we go. We'll get it out.
Okay.
Symptoms until you fall apart.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that in my life, the falling apart and dealing with those things. I've watched my daughters through their addictions do the same things. both have been, sober for one for many years now and one for, I think she's on a year and a half,
Awesome.
and, truly different people, than where they were. And you've experienced that as well. But,
Yeah.
um, you have to treat the system. And so many people, even in the holistic world, tend to treat symptoms and forget the system. So that's what we need to do.
I'm with you 100% on this, and I'm not saying it just because you're my guest and I'm going along with you, because there's times I go totally different of what some of the guests say, and that's what these shows are all about. But
Sure.
I think you heard me when I was saying thank you to Emergo Academy, that one of the things that when I read about them, when they first asked to come on my show and I was looking at their website, and that's what I really loved about it was that brain first approach, because they understood it's inside here to help fix a lot of this stuff, and something that I learned about them, they used to run a sober living in Canada, and that's where they're from.
Mhm.
That's where they still live today. But they wouldn't even work with a client that came in for the first week. And what they would do is they would just feed them good food. They actually changed their nutrition, and both of them said you cannot believe within a week's time how much they changed just in that the matter of those few days by getting good nutrition in with them. And they would all cook together, so everyone had to participate in cooking the meals, so they knew how to cook the same type of meals when it was their time to leave. And they said that they found out that when they finally sat down to work with them, their mind was settled a lot more to where they were more acceptable to hear what they had to say. And I thought that was really cool. And you mentioned that, right? You mentioned nutrition a few times here at the beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I, I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, and I said, it blows my mind that in today's world, if you eat healthy the way we should eat, as opposed to all the hyper processed stuff that's out there, they call it a diet.
Yeah,
But it's normal. That's really the normal way to eat.
yeah,
So many people have fallen aside from that. I was last year speaking at a conference and I ran into, I don't know if you know who Dr. Joe Dispenza is.
yes, uh-huh.
And he was speaking at the same conference later the day in the day. And I was talking to him and he told me about a study that he and Bruce Lipton were working on, Dr. Bruce Lipton, that with another group where they were taking children that were on the spectrum, and they would go in and just on nutrition alone, they would go in and change their diets, because what they found is most of the kids that were having issues with bad spectrum issues with ADHD and Asperger's and those kinds of things were eating just highly processed foods. And they said the first 2 weeks was very painful because they would go in and just empty the cupboards of the house of their parents' homes, and they would prepare new food. But I think that he told me it was about 86% had recovered to almost normal
Wow.
over a year period of time. That tells us what we've done in the food industry with all the processed foods that we have. And that doesn't include all the allergies we've created and everything else for
Yeah.
people through the processed foods.
Yeah,
So,
and one thing I learned a couple years ago, Will, and you probably know this, is that the food industries, as well as like the cola industries and snacks and everything, they have spent billions of dollars to find out what they can put in their foods that create addictive habits in the brain.
right,
It creates like those dopamine hits, right? So like
right,
if someone that just loves Cheetos, there's something that's inside whatever it is that they do to make it, that it signals the brain that goes, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? This is awesome. And it acts just like drugs and alcohol or porn or gambling or eating or however it may be. And they get that dopamine hit and it gets them addicted to it. And I just found that to be just flipping amazing. I mean, I've not trusted the FDA for a lot of years, but how they can put this in our foods and get away with it when we're supposed to have the FDA to protect us, it's not happening. And I do feel I'm with you 100%. I feel that's why so many Americans, well, American is the most obese country out there as far as I know. We've got the most
It
obese.
is.
Yeah, and it's because of the, like you said, the processed foods and the crap that they're putting in it that's causing a lot of this.
And also, our mortality rates are much younger in age than, I mean, we're like 30th on the list of countries as far as that goes. We do not eat good here. We do not put good things in our body. And it's so convenient, you know, to eat these processed foods. But what I found working with clients for, well, since 2011, so a long time now,
Yes.
is that after they change their diet, if they can live by it by 90 days, it's the best analogy I can draw. I remember when my daughter, that's a year and a half sober now, when she had, when I saw her after about 3 months of being sober, her whole face looked different. Her whole being looked different. I cried. I'm going to cry now thinking about it.
I can
You
imagine.
know, it was beautiful. It does the same thing. Your whole physique, your face changes, how you look, your glow, everything changes because what you feed your body is what happens to your body. It really does. And people have forgotten, they just think that it's not a big deal. Another analogy I like to draw on it, and I give credit to who told me if I could remember their name, but I can't. But they said what most people eat in the United States is the equivalent of walking up to a brick wall and beating your head against it and crushing your head, skull in and bleeding everywhere. That's the damage it's causing your body through your stomach. The same damage, but we don't even think about doing that.
Right.
But it is exactly the same damage that we're doing to our bodies. And it's causing so many of these degenerative problems that didn't ever used to, you never heard of. 30 years ago, most of the degenerative diseases we're dealing with weren't even a disease.
Right.
In the 70s, none of that. Obesity was not even around really. You know, it was very few people that had an obesity problem in the 70s. Compared to now, it's the United States is overwhelmingly far ahead of everybody else in the world for obesity. And it affects almost 80% of the population that are technically obese, right?
Jeez.
That's crazy. Crazy to me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be. That's the thing. We just need to get back to nature, if you will, to the way we're supposed to live, to put the things in our body that we're supposed to be putting in our body, and realize that that's a big part of who we are. And then also take that, when I first worked with Bob Proctor back in the early 2000s, he was very big about the mental side of things and what you think about comes about, right? And you've got to take that side along with the nutrition, but start putting the right things in your body so your body can start healing itself. Then go ahead and fix your mind. And then let's add meditation. Let's add the spiritual side of things. So now you're living a holistically healthy life, and your life will change. The way you see things will change. The way you do things will change. Who you hang out with will change. All those things just come automatically from doing those things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to vouch for that because that's exactly what's happened to me in my life. In 2009, after losing a 24-year career and, snorting cocaine and drinking every weekend for 8 years,
Yeah.
and being overweight myself, I have never ever weighed 198 pounds in my life. I mean, I had a double chin and I couldn't see my toes if I looked down at them, and I'm
Yeah.
like, my gosh, this is someone who's really since high school took pride in looking good and taking care of his body. And then here I am just destroying it. And I also made that change spiritually as well as getting my butt back in shape. That was the only direction I knew to go. It's like, how do I change myself? I don't know, but I do know this. I'm going to start here. And everything else just started shifting into place. I've said in some of my public talks that, God just started putting the right chess pieces in front of me every single time when it was needed. And it just kept leading me in different paths. And now I have this plethora of friends that they're just amazing individuals, right? And they are they look at life the same way what we are talking about today.
Yeah.
They want to surround themselves with like-minded people because it helps build them as well. It's not that, oh, these guys are cool, so I'm going to hang around them because they're cool. No, they hang around them because it feeds their energy just as much as their energy is feeding their friends. And,
Right.
and it does change you. It's completely changed who I am. I mean, I look at myself from back in 2009 to where I am here in 2026. And there's times I just sit down and I just shake my head. And I even get sometimes tears in my eyes going, my gosh, have I really come this far? And I'm not done. I'm not done by all means. And my listeners have heard me say this on the show a lot. There's goals people can reach and set another goal. But when it comes to bettering and working on yourself, there is no finish line. That's how I like to see it because there's
Right.
always something that you can work on. I mean, I've tested the waters. I've looked up and said, okay, God, I got the wheel. I'm good. Thank you for getting me this far. And before I know it, I'm in a ditch again. And it's like,
That's right.
okay, I'm not there. Okay, so after a couple times of that, I'm like, all right, you've got control of the wheel the whole time, and I'm just gonna follow. And it's the people that he's put in my life that has also helped me, and my guests that I've had on my show that's helped me get to, one point to another.
Yeah. Well, and you said earlier, you don't really see that there are coincidences. Everything seems to happen for a reason, and that kind of goes along with what you're saying because we've been trained in this world to not look for the magic in the world anymore. And once you start doing the things we're talking about, the magic comes back. You start seeing the magic around you, even if it is something that isn't the most pleasant experience. You look at it differently, if you will. You look at it much differently as not this overwhelming thing that's going to topple your life. It's now just what can I learn from this? And gratitude's a big deal. And introducing the gratitude for the lesson, all of a sudden things start to change and nothing looks so awful anymore. It's
Right.
just part of the process, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen. My buddy Cap and Cap actually, him and his girlfriend came down to St. George when we held our first event down there. I don't know if you had a chance to meet him, but he and I ended up working together remodeling homes, and he was the electrician. And he spoke at a couple of our events this past couple of years, and he's on our team, still on our committee. And I remember when I introduced him last year because I hosted the event last year instead of speaking, and I'm like, I'm going to introduce this guy that I got to work with and have had the honor and the privilege to get to know really well. And I said, I'm surprised we got any work done. I'm surprised both of us didn't get fired because we would get into some really serious conversations. And we came up with this thing is like, what's the message in the mirror? And so we'd start talking about something, and I think it was Cap that said it to me, and I was telling you I was going through a lot of stuff with my wife at the time, and I remember talking to Cap, and he goes, so what's the message in the mirror, Al? And I was like, what? He goes, what's the message in the mirror? So what he was doing was getting me to go in deep to see. I was looking at all the bad crap being thrown at me, right?
Right. Yeah.
Instead of really looking at the message in the mirror, because when I started doing it and really starting getting deep in it, I realized I was adding on to that crap onto my life as well. And it's because of the way I was looking at things. And once I was able to learn how to change, and it doesn't happen overnight, it's that because we've been programmed, like you said, right? The 3D world has just programmed all of us that this is how you're supposed to go. When
Right.
really we can change our own life and how things happen and the way we think. And it's cool, and we still use it today. Whenever we talk on the phone, or sometimes we'll shoot a text, and it's like, "Hey, man, what's the message in the mirror today?" Just to keep each other on our toes, just to go, "Hey, life is throwing a lot of shit balls at us right now, but look at the message in the mirror, and it'll help you dodge a lot of those."
Right. Well, and I love that, and I'm going to start using that. So you know,
Yeah, please
the
do.
message in the
Please.
mirror. I love that. That's a great way to look at it because we tend to. I would just throw this out there. Everyone looks in the mirror every day, right?
Mhm.
But do you really look in the mirror? You look in it to comb your hair or whatever you happen to do, trim the beard, whatever. Yeah, but you're not really looking at who you are. And it's a practice I've used with people before that are really struggling to kind of get past this stuckness that they're in. Um, I'll say, I want you to go and I want you to look into your eyes in the mirror. Look into your eyes and look at you. And I want you to do it for 10 minutes. It's really hard for people to do because it forces you, after a couple of minutes of doing it, to start to go inward.
You're
It
right.
pushes you that inward, right? And you have to start facing what it is that is causing the breakdown. And it's a great exercise for people to use in their life. If they're really feeling stuck, go spend 10 minutes with yourself in the mirror. And it sounds weird, but it's really eye-opening, for lack of a better way of putting it, to do that because you have to really look at yourself. And most people, when they look in the mirror, don't look at themselves. They see a body and they assume that's who they are. They fix their hair, do whatever they're going to do their makeup, whatever it happens to be, and they're out of the mirror. That's what they're in the mirror for. But if you go into the mirror to really look at yourself, you realize the body you're seeing is not who you are. You're not that body. You're something much greater.
Yes.
And that's what you need to discover is the true greatness within. We're all equal. We're all wonderful. We're all divine. And if you can see it in yourself, then you start to see it in other people. No matter what their situation, you start to see it in other people. That's what will change this world. Not out there, being angry and fighting with each other, but truly seeing people for what they are, a divine individual. And in my book, I write that's what that book is about. This is where the world is today. But now let's look at it differently and let's go within and let's put daily practice into place where we're really, really, really breaking down who we truly are and learning to listen to ourselves, our true selves, right?
Right.
Not the brainwashed self, not the programming we've been given, but let's introduce a virus and get us back to where we were. Let's get out of the matrix, if you will, right? And and in my book, I talk about the process. It's only about 100 pages. It's a pretty short book, but it's because when I originally wrote the book, it was about 700 pages.
Oh,
And
geez.
before I published it, I realized I had written a college manual, you know, and I needed to really just give it to people that could take it and put practices into their life. And in 9 chapters, by the end of 100 pages, they could put those practices into place and start living them. And um, it's a really good guide because that is what's missing. People are so caught up in what's happening around them and causing that, and it's the powers to be trying to keep our attention from ourselves,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And we need to get to ourselves. That's how we heal. That's how we heal the world, is going within and finding who we truly are, and then sharing our true selves, our pure selves with the world. Not that it happens all the time, because we all in this world screw up from time to time, right?
Yeah.
But that's part of our experience as well. And once you accept that, then it's not such a bad deal, right?
Yeah. So I've got the name of your books, but let our listeners know, what is the name of the books?
Well, I have one that's published now. I was
Okay.
gonna, if you don't mind, I'll just grab one.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Grab it, please.
It's I always keep it right here by me in my desk,
Okay.
and it it's really, it's a journey through the human condition is really what the book's about, and it's about waking up from the matrix, if you will.
Okay.
Sorry, I have to lean down further, but you can get it on Amazon. I'm going to do a little plug if you don't mind. Get it on Amazon. It's called Eyes Wide Open. I
Eyes
don't know if
wide
you can
open.
see that.
Yep. Yeah, just put it in front of you because when you go off to the side, the screen, yeah, come up. Yep, eyes wide open. Okay. I love
Eyes
it.
Wide Open.
Okay.
And it's really about, again, going back to that mirror analogy, it's about opening your eyes to who and what we truly are in this world and what we're here to do.
Yeah.
This life, you hear everybody say life is short, right? I look at life as an experience, not short, not long, not any time frame to it, but I'm here to experience and learn as much as possible in this situation as a divine being. And I've gotten this body as a divine being to experience this type of a dimension in this density or a dimension, however you want to think about it. Everybody has their different ideas, which is fine. And however you relate to that. But that's just a passing thing, right? And I want to learn and experience as much as possible and share that with my soul group, with people like you, with people that we connect with. And you know, the energy is there. When you meet someone, when I first met you, I felt your energy. I knew, I knew we were brothers, if you will, right? And that's what we're here to do. And to share those experiences with people. That's the problem with making everything happen on our phones and electronically. That's going to destroy humankind, or the human being, because we're not meant to be that way. We're meant to socially interact and to grow. That helps us grow. It
Yeah.
helps us develop, if you will, into better beings totally. So
Yeah,
eyes
and
wide open.
it's crazy that you are bringing all this up because it's stuff that I have actually been working on for a long time. You
Hmm.
know, and I went through a course too at about, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, I guess it was, and the coach gave us like, I don't know, 7 or 10 affirmation things, and he's like, all right, I want you to take this home. This is your homework. I want you to memorize them, and then I want you to look at yourself in the mirror, eye to eye, and say these affirmations. I'm like, phew, piece of cake, man. I got this. I usually don't like homework, but I was being cocky and my ego was there, and I'm like, yeah, I got this. Well, I started doing it, and it took me some time, and all of a sudden I realized something, Will. Every time I went to go say it, I looked away and then I would come back. And then I'd go say another one, I'd look away. So I wasn't believing it. I wasn't believing what I was telling myself. That's why I was looking away. And it was so uncomfortable, right? So I'm sure your clients or the people that you work with come back and probably say, oh my gosh, that was the weirdest thing I ever did. Because it is so uncomfortable to look at yourself, because really you are looking inside yourself when you look at yourself eye to eye. I mean,
You are.
I feel it. And I took a course last year called FLY, and it stands for Fulfill Life Yourself. And that was one of the things that they taught us, that every morning I have my morning routine, but every morning I've added this in. I get up, I turn on the light, and I look at myself eye to eye, and I tell myself, I love you. You're an amazing human being. You're here to do God's work. You're here to help inspire other people, and I tell myself, I have God within me. He is within me. And today is a blessed day because God woke me up today. And I don't know if I have the whole day, but right now I have this time. And I stare at myself and I look at myself, and it was still uncomfortable for me for the first little while. But what's crazy is if I miss it, my body tells me, it's like, oh shit, I didn't do that. So as soon as I'm in front of a mirror and alone again, I hurry and go in and do that because I've been doing it so long now. And it starts my day out amazing. I mean, it really does. By the time I get to the gym, I'm freaking all energy and excited about life and just ready to go. So again, you're spot on. And I'm saying this because I've done these practices and it does change your life. It takes a little time to get there, but as long as you're
Yeah.
patient with yourself and you take those baby steps, it literally does change how you are and who you are. And I'd like to share this before we go on. I was a guest on a show beginning of the year, and the host of the show said, Al, what makes you happy? What brings you joy? I was like, oh man, Carrie, that's a good question. I've never been asked that question before. And then I stopped and I thought, no, I have been asked that question before. What was my answer? My answer was, oh, my grandkids. I love going out hiking. I love golfing. That was my answers all the time.
Yeah.
It ran through my head, but it didn't come out of my mouth. And all of a sudden, I got teary-eyed. And I said, Carrie, for the first time, I can say I'm in love with Al Richards, who I am as an individual. And that she was just like, oh my, she's doing this on the other side of the screen. And even after I got off the show, I was like, where the hell did that come from? And I've got God bumps over here on this side because since 2009, that's all I've done is work on myself and meet people like yourself who have helped given me direction and guidance and tapping into my spiritual side, not religious stuff, but I mean spiritual stuff. And it has really led me to where I am today. And it works. It literally works because I don't take things so seriously anymore. And I used to be one of those guys, man. If something didn't go the way I was expecting to go, I flew off the freaking handle.
Yeah.
I'm throwing a fit. I'm throwing my 2-year-old temper tantrum. At age 30 or 40 something. you know,
Yeah.
and I've realized that it doesn't have to be that way, and you can choose which direction to go. And yeah, when you can stop yourself and realize, and again, look at that message in the mirror, you can go, wait a minute, I don't like being pissed off. So why do I want to go that direction? I need to sit down and think about this for a little while
Yeah.
and really feel the connection.
Yeah. And so many people look at anger in such a negative way. I don't look at anger so negatively.
Mhm.
And let me explain what I mean by that. If you fly off the handle, that's not a good way to deal with your anger, right? It's okay to be angry from time to time. Things happen, whatever may happen. It's okay to be angry.
Mhm.
When my daughter passed about a year ago, I was devastated and angry, you know, but I used that anger to sit down and really explore what her life was all about and what happened and what was going on with myself as well. Because she wasn't angry, she passed. I
Uh,
was the one that was angry, right? And it took, I think that's part of the experiences we have in this life is when we have those experiences, how we deal with them. Thinking about it, I'm going to get teary-eyed. And you go through that process, and how you do that is really the growth that comes to you and no one else, really, right? I mean, my um, son-in-law and my grandsons, he is an amazing man. I love him to death, and he has done such a good job with my grandsons, and I'm grateful to have them in my life. And when it first happened, I thought I had to take care of everyone. You know, man, my job is don't cry, don't, your job is to make sure people are taken care of. And that was great. Got through the funeral, made sure they were all taken care of, and then, had my breakdown and fell apart,
Right.
right? Just all comes out. And that's when you can deal with those things, and you deal with the anger and the things that come along with it. Anger is not necessarily a bad thing. It just means there's something we need to address and understand, and that's okay. And I was going to kind of bring that into play with Life by Design, Healthy Living, because when someone becomes a client of mine, and I don't know if you and I have talked about this before, but I'm being a nutritionist, having my education and in metaphysics and religious philosophy. I kind of take things, because I'm a metaphysician, very scientifically. So I do a lot of epigenetics testing. I do a lot of assessments, because you have to break down what's going on emotionally. What you went through in your coaching, you had to really kind of find those things that you probably didn't even try to explore before you were in a coaching program. Because we tend not to, and we've been trained not to as men. Honestly, we've been told to just suck it up and deal with it, right?
Yep.
But we haven't dealt with it. We have to do those things and go through that experience before we can even start the practices in our life to create a new life. You have to be willing to give up your old life for the life you truly want, a truly optimally healthy life, if you will. And it hits all facets of who you are: body, mind, soul. That is the holistic person that you see in the mirror, whose eyes you're looking into, is that holistic person, not just the body, not just the spiritual. It's the whole that has to heal. And you have to go through that process of truly determining who you are. And I'll tell you a quick practice that I learned from Bob Proctor back in the day that I still use with my clients today for your audience. But it'll be and you should try it yourself.
Okay.
But write down 30 things you want to be, do, or have that are important to you before you die. Okay, that could be tomorrow, by the way. But when you sit down to do that, take the time to really write down. And it could be as simple as, I want to learn to play the guitar, or travel to France, or whatever it happens to be. But really write down the things that are important to you. What is it I truly want to be, do, or have? What is it in me? What legacy do I want to leave for myself, for others, for the world, and spend the time doing that. Once you have that down, those 30 things written, look at them again and put them into an A, B, C category. Here's the 10 most important. Here's the next 10 most important. And here's the next 10 most important. And then once you have that down, list them of importance in each list. So 1 through 10 on the A list is this, 1 through 10 on the B list. When you're done with that practice, you should have the top 3 things to 5 things that are the truly most important things you want to accomplish before you die.
Okay.
Put that into a mantra, into a paragraph. When you first write it, it's probably going to be a page. I'm so happy and grateful now that I help hundreds of people live a better life and understand their true divine nature. Right? Put it into a mantra. And you were talking about your little mantra you do in the mirror every day. Make it part of that practice. Just say your mantra every morning about who you are and be grateful for it, and that is how you start your day. And the minute you forget that during the day because you get knocked upside of the head, take 2 minutes and do it again, because that's what puts you back on track. It's a simple practice that most people, it's amazing to me that most of my clients really struggle with coming up with 30 things
Hmm.
because they've never really had to sit down and think about it. And if you ask them to write 5 things that are important to them, they can sit down and do it. Oh, my family, no, that's not what we're talking about. I want you to write 30 things that are truly important to you, that you want to be, you want to do, that you want to have in your life, really take the time to do it. And that is a hard thing for most people to do. And it takes time. But that process is how you start to open up the shell and truly go within, right? To discover who you are. So
I
simple practice to do in theory. So,
yes. Would you send that to me in an email, Will, when you get a chance?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that
Yeah, I
way I
have it
can
in an
make sure
email and I have a little worksheet. I'll
okay,
send
that
that to
way
you.
I make sure I have it
Yeah,
down right. Because yeah, I would actually love to do that myself. Yeah.
yeah. It's fun. It's fun to do. And then when you get a great partner in your life like I have, you do it together and you share it with each other. And you create common goals and you grow together and you make it fun. And yeah, there's lots of things you can do with it.
I love that.
So,
Yeah, that's a good thing to do. I'm doing a thing called the Power 70 right now, and it's something that my coaches have come up with. And it's kind of something like this, it's come up with a few things that you want to do in the mornings, like I have my saying in the mirror and I do my spiritual stuff, and then you have a couple things that you do in the afternoon, and then you have a couple things that you do in the evening.
yeah.
No, and if you slip, it's okay. You don't beat yourself up. It's just, you go back and you just continue to go. Because the whole thing is not to beat yourself up or to be hard on yourself. It's taking this 70 days to start refiring something in your brain and changing the thoughts in the brain. And because as you know, the more that we do it and the more healthier neurons that we fire, the stronger that they come together. And so yeah,
Right.
it's been a challenge. And one of mine though is one of the things that I picked that I'll share is I'm an ice cream junkie. I freaking love ice cream. And I had shoulder surgery about
Yeah.
8, 9 weeks ago, and I just started packing on the weight like crazy after the surgery. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, I put on like 10 pounds. And I was like, what the hell is happening? So I decided I would not have ice cream for 70 days to see if I can do it. And I've had ice cream 3 times since Easter. Still, I'm celebrating it because I could usually only go one day without having ice cream. And so it's something that I'm working on, and it's a really cool thing to be able to go, hey, when your body's so used to it and your brain's used to it, it's just like drugs and alcohol or anything else. It's like, hey man,
Absolutely.
where's my
Yeah.
ice cream? What's going on? And then you got to do something to get your mind off of it. So, which is crazy because a lot of times I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to go to the store and buy some. No, because if it's in my freezer, I'll eat the whole freaking quart within 2 days, right? Or something like that. So I get doing something else, and before
Yeah.
I know it, it's like, oh, it's time for bed. Yeah, I don't need ice cream now. But anything like that, any type of practice, I give thumbs up to because it does help change your life in so many different ways.
And there's simple things that we've never been taught, you know, growing up. We weren't taught to really look within ourselves. In the establishment that we grew up in, you're taught to actually look outside of yourself for pleasure, for fun, for, why you're upset, why everything's going on. And it's never for anything outside of you is never truly the cause. It always comes from within. Your joy comes from within. Your happiness comes from within. The peace that you can have in your life comes from within, and your healing comes from within. And it's all about nutrition, putting the right things in your body, creating the right environment and understanding yourself. And if you can do those three things in a good holistic fashion, given the right nutrition, given the right supplements if needed, the right protocols if needed, if you are in a situation you need those, whatever it happens to be, you will heal.
Yeah.
You will heal. Very simple.
And I just want to say thank you too for saying just here a little bit ago that it's okay to be angry. Because I got another friend, Nick Smith, who talks about he was there at the event too in St. George. He was selling the Giant and the Smalls book, the one that he wrote. But
Oh, yes. Yes, I
I,
remember. Yeah.
he talks about, it's okay to be depressed sometimes. It's okay to be sad, and again, society has got us thinking that it's
Yeah.
not. There's something wrong with us, and we need to take a pill or we've got to do something so we don't feel this way. When literally it is okay to feel this way. God gave us all these emotions for a reason. He if he didn't, he wouldn't have given them.
Absolutely.
But we're the only species on this freaking planet that has that opportunity to feel all these things. You know, I like to use like animals in nature or
Yes.
ducks. When something happens to them, how many times you've been sitting or watched ducks out on a pond in a park and one attacks the other and it's chasing it and it quacks and it flies a little ways and finally lands back in the water and it sits up and flaps its wings and lets out a couple quacks and then just goes on along its business. It just released everything that just happened to it and it's going on with its life. But as far as us humans, man, we add that in.
Right.
We open it up and we start storing it inside of us because, we've just got to do it. It's going to eat us up and it tears us up. So I love that you've shared that and love that you shared about everything is within because you're 100% correct, at least in my eyes.
Well, I at least have you.
You got me. Well, you got your
I,
client.
I wanted to just kind of just I, it's that what you just said. Nature seems to work just fine, right? It's perfect. And we've gone so far out of nature, it's time to kind of bring ourselves back to running that same way and allowing those things and those emotions. If you hold them within, that's where your body will break down. That energy will build up, as you know, and it starts to break down your body. And until you can address those things, until you can get the right protocols, practices, and lifestyle in place, and then understand that's you've exchanged your old life for a new life, then and you can then move forward. And it's about healing for life. It really is. And that's what we're here to do. That's what you're here doing and sharing. That's what I'm here doing and sharing. It brings us joy. I love everybody I work with. I just love them to death. And I love what they've gone through, even though it might have been horrible or what they're going through. But that's what it's about, is really sharing that and feeling that peace and that harmony, if you will, within your life.
Amen. I think
So,
some of the younger generation has got that already instilled in them. My
yeah.
12-year-old granddaughter, I picked her up one day and was coming home and we got talking about stuff like anger and stuff like that. And she goes, Papa, if we didn't have bad things happen to us or get angry or sad, life would be boring. And I went, what? And this is a 12-year-old girl, and I'm like, so what do you mean by that, sweetie? And she goes, well, how would we ever learn if stuff like this didn't happen to us?
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh my hell. I've got a 12-year-old girl that's telling me this who's seeing this and understanding it when I didn't realize it till I was in my 40s or 50s, and some of the people that I talk to, or even if I sit down with a client, how we look at things. But again, it's because we've been programmed, like you said, for so long. However, it seems like a lot of these younger generations, because I've talked to other friends who have grandkids or young ones, and they're saying they're the same way. They're looking at life totally different than the way we looked at
We
it.
do it. Yeah.
So there's there's a change happening. There is definitely a change happening and a shift happening. And I'm so grateful that I get to be a part of it, that I've had that shift in my life, and I got slapped upside the head and said, hey, it's time to make a change and start looking at this. Because I would have never thought I would be in doing what I'm doing in my life right now. I mean, you would ask me this back in the early 2000s, I would have told you had your head so far up your rear end, but now
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, look where everything has led me. Losing a 24-year career got me to where I'm at today,
Right. Yeah.
you know, and it's because of people like yourself who have helped lead me in that direction with divine help, you know.
Yeah. You know, I look back and I've gone through some horrific experiences in my life where I really thought it was the end of me. And um, I don't think I wouldn't change it because I would not be where I'm at today without any of those things. I,
Man,
I wouldn't. So I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change the heartbreak. I wouldn't change anything else because I wouldn't be who I am
yeah.
without it.
Well,
And I think the younger generation is here to fix what we messed up. So, and they do not have the same mindset that we grew up in, the same programming we grew up with. And, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next, 60, 80 years. you know,
yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely with you on that. And you already know this, and I say this even a lot on my show, that we find our brightest light through our darkest of dark.
Yep.
You know, that all we got to do is just look for that little teeny pinhole. I mean, nature does it, right? I
Yeah.
just shared this with somebody 2 days ago about the slabs of concrete that I saw at the park and how a tree had grown out of these slabs of concrete, and its trunk was so big it had picked up the slabs of concrete. But at one time, those slabs of concrete were on top of each other, and somehow that damn root found its way through there and was able to reach towards the sky because that trunk was coming out like that and then going straight up.
Yeah.
So it's like it made it through it. We as human beings can make it through it too. We just have to tap inside ourselves, like what we've been talking about this whole show, and feel our emotions, look for the lesson or the message in the mirror because there's lessons behind everything. And um, we'll come out a totally different person. And as soon as we learn that lesson, be ready because God's got another one waiting for us.
Absolutely. There is no pill that will fix it. There is a lifestyle and a way of living that will.
That's
And that's what you have to do and understand that that's what we're here for, is all of those things. So,
man. So, well, as we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with the listeners?
I think we just kind of hit that. Just to reiterate, it's truly about just choosing to give up your old life for a new life, the life you truly want. Your body has the ability to totally heal itself. It can. You just have to holistically put everything in place. And those are those three things I talked about: that nutrition, your environment, and bring back the spirit, if you will. And you do those three things and put the practice in place, life becomes an optimal way of being. So
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you for your time, man. I really do appreciate it. And it's good seeing you. I haven't
thank
seen
you.
you for since 2022. I don't think so.
No, I don't think we have. No,
I think we
I see your posts. I like your posts a lot. That's about
yes, you
it.
do. Yeah. Well, thank you again for being on the show. And I just want to say again, thank you to Emergo Academy, Dave and Susan Kenny. You guys are awesome. Guys, check them out. Emergo Academy, EMERGO Academy.com. And I also want to say thank you to all our past guests and our future guests, guys. Thank you so much for taking time to be on the show. I am just still in awe this year. I mean, here we are coming up to the end of May, and guys, I am literally booking for 2027. I am completely booked this entire year. This has not happened to me ever in the 5 years I've done this show. So I just want to say thank you to everybody out there. Most of all, I want to say thank you to our listeners. You guys are the ones that keep listening to the show. I love it when somebody comes up to me at an event and says, "Hey, I love the show," or so and so, or somebody puts a post on social media or even shoots me a text and says, "Hey, the guest you had on was awesome. That was just exactly what I needed to hear." So, guys, thank you. And keep in mind, guys, here down the road, I'm going to keep saying it till it finally happens, but I was told I got to do it for about 6 to possibly 8 weeks. The show is going to be rebranded. We're going to take out the AR, the other side of addiction, and it's going to be changed through the storm. So that way it fits also with my coaching and just kind of like how life went for me in 2025, just going through the storm. And I think all the guests that we have coming in will correspond with that. And we're going to leave you with this too. Make sure you mark your calendars for October 3rd. The 6th Healing Utah Success Summit is coming up. Guys, we've got some really great speakers. So we'd love to see you out there. And if you got any questions, reach out to me. And remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.